at any moment, and that's what we got to be careful of. So if you see something, you know something, hear something, all we ask you is just to say something, and in so doing, we would be able to eliminate the fear of crime, and we can make our society safer. In studio with me is two new guests. They has never been in studio before, and they would be representing the Hermitage Police Station. I must say they are junior officers, but for them to be here is because they know their job and they has done some research. So this morning we're going to have another wonderful program. We're going to have another interesting discussion, and it is a sort of a backdrop to last week's program. Last week, remember, we spoke on the importance of case file preparation on receipt of your complaint to the magistrate court. And I had two guests in studio, male and female. And today, again, we have that in junior officers again. So here's what we're going to do, listeners. We are going to discuss this morning the importance of statement, right? And how important it is from the time you make contact to the police to the matter going into the court and its relevance. So we're going to speak around that because these are things that you, our listeners, you, the community members, do on a day-to-day basis. And oftentimes you hear they say, well, I made a report to the police, and up to now I'm not hearing anything. I asked the matter to go to court, and it's now 4 months, a whole year passed. But hear what? If you only gave the police a report and not a signed statement, then it's highly unlikely that your matter would go to court. And as a result, we're going to discuss those things this morning, and we're going to look at its importance and what you need to know about statement taking. But before we do that, and before I allow my guests to greet you, we'll just take a brief with our theme song, and we'll be right back with the conversation with the RGPF.
Police too choky, no man fight with police and dead. Say the force is where killers are bred. So when I hear you complaining, I have to agree. Is you society guilty of police brutality against me? The brutal society brutal.
So Keturah George say police brutal, and it often happens when we see the audios and the videos. But hear what, listeners? The videos and the audios only come after the fact. You never saw what initiated the action of the police. And sometimes based on the action of the police and because the law says we can use force, the question is it justifiable? I think that's a topic that we need to discuss one day. Right? The law says, yes, officers can use force. And there are other categories of persons who can use force. But is it justifiable? Does the force you use matches the incident at the moment or the action at the moment? But I only went on that as Keturah, that line in Keturah's song on police brutality. But this morning, as I say, we'll be discussing the importance of statement to the taking of your matter, it's your matter, to the magistrate court. And what is it you as a complainant need to know? What is it you as a complainant need to do in order to have your matters processed to the magistrate court in order that you get some form of justice for when it seems as if you was unfairly treated. So I take this opportunity to say good morning to my guests in studio with me. And as usual, women first. All right, sir? So good morning to you, madam, and how are you? Take some few seconds and just greet our listeners.
A pleasant good morning, one and all. My name is Woman Police Constable number 17330, presently attached to the Hermitage Police Station.
Philip, you are St. Patrick's woman, right?
Of course.
Well, just greet your people one time. Go right ahead.
I will say hello to my mom, Miss Gemma Joseph, and the entire Shantimal community, of course. Shantimela. Hope everybody's doing okay.
All right, and I hope you told them listen to the program this morning.
I definitely did.
Great. Good morning to you, sir, and how are you? Welcome.
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. Good, thanks.
Yes.
Take a few seconds and just greet our listeners and let them know who you are.
Good morning, listeners. My name is PC306 Lalit, presently attached to the Hermitage Police Station as well. So I'm honored to be here.
All right.
Yes.
So, Lalit, how has it been for you as a big parish guy and in St. Patrick's, coming out from St. George's, previously attached to and now into St. Patrick's Hermitage? How different is the policing styles?
Of course, the policing style is more community based. It's much closer to the community rather than a police station that's in the town.
Right.
The focus is definitely different. Community members see the police, as neighbors and so, and they are very, very kind and, friendly. with officers and
How
so.
does that affect your day-to-day functioning?
Of course, it creates a bit comfort for me, knowing that the environment is not a hostile environment.
Right.
Therefore, it improves productivity as well.
Great.
Yes.
Yes. So whoever transferred you did not make a mistake.
No.
Don't answer. I'm happy to hear that, because oftentimes on our various media programs, we try to strive the aspect of community policing and the police and the community working together, the community and the police working together, because there is mileage in that, right?
Yes.
There is. Because when you as a police knows and feel that you have that support from the community, even if they are wrong in the particular action, whatever the situation, but with that family vibes that you get, it also creates that ambience and warmness to continue to serve.
Yes.
I
Definitely.
see Miss Phillip is nodding her head all the way. Are you saying that I'm in full agreement with Constable Lally?
Completely, Sergeant, completely.
Well, you had a wider stint because you came from St. George's, then you went into Grenville, and now you're into Hermitage. Are you saying the same thing as Lally?
Very much.
So should we pull you back Grenville? Okay, don't answer. You might just shoot yourself in your foot. But I understand, because it's a privilege when you can work within an environment.
It is a
where you
wonderful
feel that.
community.
I'm happy to hear that. So I should be hearing more of community policing now.
Definitely.
And an escalation in terms of the activities.
Yes.
But we're not speaking community policing this morning. We're speaking on statements and its importance in taking matters.
Sorry, but before we go forward,
Yes.
on behalf of the Hermitage Police Station,
Go right ahead.
we extend congratulations to you and the other
Yes.
members of the RGPF
Yes.
on the upward mobility in the hierarchy.
Well, I say
Promotions.
thank you. Thank you.
Promotion is one thing, but when it's a female,
Oh
it's
my.
add that little
Yes,
extra flavor
yes,
to
yes.
it.
Okay.
Yes, so we extend a very special congratulations to all the females in the RGPF on that.
Don't have me blushing on the people's program, Miss Philip. But I say thank you. And as I said at the start, it's not mine. I'm the one wearing it. I'm the one carrying on in the office. But it is all of us on, because whether it is good or bad, whether it is a little rough time and a good time, it all contributes and help me to be a better person and to better serve. Because oftentimes I consider myself to be a servant of others. And it is what it is, but thank you. And Hermitage has always been a station that has a good relationship with. So listeners, we go directly into it. We have at least 35 minutes, and within that we'll go pack in terms of our information. So when we speak of statement, oftentimes people get mixed or cross when we say statement and report. I went to the police and make a report and ask that my matter taken to the court, or I called the police and I made a report asking for court action, and it's now 4 months and it has not gone to court. It's a year, 6 months, and it had not gone to court. In light of that small scenario, what really is a statement? Anyone
Okay.
can.
A statement is considered to be a formal or legal written record of a person's first-hand encounter or knowledge of an incident which occurred.
Okay.
Right?
Right. So in light of within the police context, it must be written.
Yes.
It must
Be written.
right. And in that statement being written, while it is a written account, immediately does that person giving that their story in writing, do they have to do anything at the end of it?
Yes. So the statement will be recorded on a document that is used by the police and only the police. There's official form that we use.
Right.
So the statement will be recorded on that form, and at the end there's a process we call certification and declaration, and so
Oh.
they will have to sign. A report is just basically a summary of the incident. However, the statement will be a detailed account of the incident, basically.
Right. So tell me, what you having an understanding now as to what is a statement? What's the importance of a statement to that of taking a matter to court? What is its importance?
It's very important, as a statement, it creates a mental picture, right, of the incident to any person that was not there.
Right.
Basically, like for the investigator, the prosecutor will be in court, and also the magistrate. That's why a statement is considered to be very detailed. You need to explain sometimes the conditions of the environment, the lighting, what you saw. It goes down into a very detailed explanation of what occurred and why it occurred. Right?
So while we say that a statement is important in taking matters to court, and it gives that account as to what happened and its condition and all of that. For police, oftentimes we speak of offenses, right? And how, in light of that, understanding it is a written account of what you say, and it's also detailed. What is the procedure in recording a statement? So someone come to the station and you need to record a statement for them. What's the procedure in doing so?
Okay, Sergeant. Well, today we are speaking of offense statements, and it is a type of written statement of, as my colleague said, a person's first-hand knowledge of an incident, which include all crime and traffic offenses, right? And that particular statement contains two details: factual details, that is where you deal with the exact time, day, place of the alleged offense, and being able to identify the alleged offender.
Right.
And you also have to deal with the offense details. It's basically the details of the offense being committed at the time.
Right.
Right. And during that time, you will come to the station, you have to give a statement. There are several steps to take.
Right.
It could be time consuming. We can't emphasize that enough.
Right.
Yes.
I love that.
It could be time consuming, right? And we know it is often said that a poorly taken statement is the beginning of a poor investigation.
Right.
So we have to take our time and get in there. So firstly, the officer will have a light talk with the person during that time. The person should be relaxed at the moment. The officer will sit and listen to the entire story from the complainant,
Right.
only interrupting to clarify any doubts. Since it is a written statement, we will inform the complainant of our intention to do so.
All right.
At that time, we will ask the person to repeat the story. However, they will have to do it slower since we'll be writing.
Right.
And the purpose of that is to ensure that all information are captured in that statement.
Good.
Again, only interrupting to clarify doubts. It is very important because this is not our statement, it is their statement, even though we are writing. And as Officer Lally stated earlier, on completion of making the statement, the person will have to sign 3 places on the statement at the end of their statement to ensure that no one put any additional information on their statement after their last word
Right.
and after the declaration and certification of the statements. Also, on complete of that statement, the person will be given the opportunity to read over their statement and make any correction necessary.
So
The
we-
wonderful thing is, if they cannot read,
Okay.
we are here to do that for them also.
Right.
And if we note any little error, they cross it off, initial, to ensure that this is their statement word for word as they provided it.
Yes.
So what happened in cases where the person may say, well, officer, I can't read. I would like for someone to read it for me, but not you. What happens in such a situation?
Well, we have if it's not an officer in particular, there are other persons that could be called.
Okay.
Persons that the officers are au fait with, maybe a JP or even a store clerk could be called.
Right.
Once a complainant is comfortable enough with that person,
Right.
it's no problem whatsoever with us.
So in short, you're saying even if that the person giving the complaint can't read, but he or she comes in with Tom or John public and asks for that person to read the statement over to them, that is okay.
That is okay.
Right. So listeners, I wish for you to understand in statement taking, even if you can't read, it does not mean that deprives you of giving a statement or reporting an incident that has occurred with you or to you, and you want court action and you hesitate or delay because there are a lot of persons who can't read.
All right.
But definitely, all right. And they have what we consider strict sense.
Yes.
And if you listen to them, you could never believe that they can't read. But because they know they have that challenge, they may say, well, I'm not going to the police because what if I have to do that? But listeners, so I want to encourage you that if you know situations within your community, especially traffic accidents, traffic accidents, for some reason persons are just hesitant because they know they can't read and write, or they can't read properly to come in to give a statement. You can just meet Tom on the road and you're comfortable with Tom, and Tom accompanies you to the police station to give your statement, and he or she can read it over for you if you're not comfortable with this officer who is taking it, and then they can do that for you. But you said, Ms. Phillip, you spoke on it briefly as it regards to offense statement.
Yes.
So let's go a little deeper as to what is an offense statement and how, and whether or not there is any relevance in the whole process of statement taking and matters proceeding to court.
Well, an offense statement basically speaks for itself. An offense have to be committed. There are different type of statements. Someone could come in the station and request a warning to be given to someone, and based on the nature of that report, the police would use their discretion to still take a statement and have it there for future reference. Right? However, with an offense statement, we have to be able to take that statement and determine if an offense have been committed and if there is substantial evidence there to sustain a charge for that said offense. So for instance, if in the case of like causing harm, we would have to be able to take a statement that determine that extent of the injury. So a medical form will be given to the person. The doctor will fill out same, and on the medical form there are different categories of harm. Based on the finding of the doctors, we know how to charge. And with that, sometimes you get a laceration. You will have to talk about the instrument used in that nature. You have to describe the atmosphere, everything like that. We sometimes, we go into why it happened, the relationship between you and the person, where it happened, when, how, what time.
All of the W's and the H.
5 W's and the H, yes. That's it right there.
That's it.
And it is very, very important because without an offense, the matter cannot go to court. That's just the basics of it. Without an offense, it cannot go to court.
So let me see on that statement. Let me ask, any of you can respond to that. Tom comes in and say that John Public did XYZ to me, right? And you as a person, as the officer responding to record the report, Tom is requesting that the matter goes to court. But you realize, based on the points to prove on what the law say, there is not an offense there. There is not a criminal offense. What do you say to Tom? What can happen next? Anyone can answer that.
Well, Corporal Sergeant, my apologies. It has happened actually. Persons will come to the station and make a report, and based on the nature of it, they believe something happened. And we would let them know. We understand where you're coming from, but according to the law, no offense was committed. However, we could set up a conference, a mediation for the both of you. Sit with a senior officer because the khaki does attract them a lot.
Right.
So if you get the inspector to sit down with them and have a discussion to figure out exactly what is the problem.
Right.
We try our best to find a solution for every report made to a police station, whether it's criminal or not.
Right.
We don't leave you, we don't let you leave as you come in, that's for sure.
Right.
So even if there is not an offense, we try our best to find a solution.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
That's
And
true.
I'll let you nodding all over.
Yes, that's true.
All right.
You know.
Because
yeah.
oftentimes what we realize, these non-criminal reports
Mhm, yeah.
are the base for the escalation of a criminal
Yeah.
offense or situation occurring. So on that note, listeners, we'll take a brief commercial. Well, it's not commercial because for some reason Dugo decide not to give me any commercials this morning. So we'll take a brief with our theme song, Ketura George, and whenever you hear it, you know it is the conversation with the RGPF. And if you know of something, if you hear something, if you see something, all we want you to do, say something. The police and the community working together, and we would continue to do that. So stick and stay while we take a few seconds break, and we'll be right back where we discuss the importance of your statement in regards to taking your matter to the magistrate court.
Society brutal. Oh gosh, they brutal. My society brutal. Police here have to tiptoe, good Lord. We afraid to mash your corner, cause you're in waiting like Mako to dish out disdain, slander, and scorn when you sleep at night time. Police up, we fighting crime. Yes, yet in your cruel carnal mind you say police wasting time. Now the police keeping you fit, be ever present on the streets. Still you say cops here is the worst. We only harassing woman and boss. You used to complain, true and true, about the bloods and the ginger crew. You tell us put some licks in their ass. Now you say police hand too damn fast. So when I hear you complaining, I have to agree. It's all you, society, that guilty of police brutality against we. The brutal society brutal. Oh gosh, the brutal. My society brutal. When I listen to you speak for real, I never feel so weak. Cause the same folks we protect, they're lobbying hard to chop off we neck. If any officer is ever
Conscious of God, and we all are conscious of God. Let me tell you a secret of policing, listeners. And then you say, it's only a retired police that would know that. When you look at a police officer and you look at his or her buttons on her shirt, what do you see? What symbol do you recognize? And if you don't know, it's a riddle. I'll tell you the answer. 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You did not get it, except you're a retired police officer or you're related to a police. It's a cross, okay? Hence the reason why we are so protected and we are conscious of God. Look at an officer again and tell me, the silver buttons or the buttons to the front of an officer represents a cross, not a T. It's a cross, okay? And it speaks to our relationship with God and how much he, as a chief security officer, is protecting us. I thought I'd throw that in. Yes, I thought I'd throw that in. And also bear in mind, listeners, that our young persons are doing exams now. the CPA aspect has finished and the secondary students, let us just encourage them. Parents and guardians, let's be a support to them and for them. It is that time when a lot of them realize I had messed up for 4 or 5 years of my academic life and I have to make a difference. Some of them under the pressure, they decide I am not going. But what I ask and beg of you is just to encourage them, support them in whatever way. Maybe just a break. Bus drivers and conductors, maybe just a drop. It would pay off tomorrow. I can give a lot of stories as to some of the busmen on my side when I was going to school, and they are still there. You have the Martin, you have the Patrick, you have Joins, and these are guys that are respectable. So I want to encourage you, busmen and drivers, and I'm only talking about River Sally Montrose because that was my school route. So I just want to encourage you, drivers, bus drivers, and conductors, please be polite to our students, especially in a time like now as they sit their exams. That is what makes a difference for their life. And bear in mind, as you go older, they would remember you one way or the other. But however, for the conversation with the RGPF, we are discussing the importance of statement taking in regards to your matter going to the magistrate court. And in studio with me is WPC Philip and Constable Lalit, attached to the Hermitage Police Station. They had told you thus far as to what a statement is, a written account of what you have to say of an incident or situation that occur. Simple, yeah. And then they went on to tell you how important it is to take in matters to court. And we'll just go a little further into the conversation on that. So, guess, any one of you, I'm not going to point, but in regards to statements, somebody made a point on it earlier in the program, that when you give a statement, you're expected to do what we call declaration or certification at the end, where you sign the statement. What's the importance of that, or what is that? What's the declaration or certification, and how important it is to the statement?
Right. So, Sergeant, there is 2 certification and 1 declaration on a statement form.
Right. Mm-hmm.
1 certification is for the maker and 1 is for the officer, and the declaration is for the maker also, the person giving the statement.
Right.
It is very important because there are some offenses that have statute of limitation.
Right.
There's a time period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it is important to show when you give the statement,
Okay.
and in the statement, of course, say when it occurred. So we
Right.
work with a time limit.
Right.
The certification shows that you came to the session
Mm-hmm.
and you gave a statement and it is true and correct to the best of your knowledge.
Right.
Since it is an official document, it is a legal binding document.
Right.
When it goes to court, that is what your matter is about, exactly what you are saying.
Okay.
And that is where the declaration comes in place. That's
Mhm.
my favorite part.
All right.
Because in the declaration, you are cautioned against lying,
Right.
right?
Right.
Because it's when every officer does that, after taking a statement, we read out the declaration to you, or
Mm-hmm.
you read it yourself, and it simply states this statement consisting of how many pages,
Mhm.
signed by me, is true to the best of my knowledge. And I make it knowing that if it is tendered in evidence, I shall be liable to prosecution if I willfully stated anything which I know to be false or do not believe to be true.
And that is a person giving
That
the
is the
statement.
person giving the statement.
That's right.
And we ensure we explain it to you. You read
Right.
it. Do you understand? If they find out you're lying here,
Mhm.
they will prosecute you for lying. Do you understand that?
All right.
And of course, we always get the answer, yeah, I'm not lying, I have no problem signing. And they sign, of course.
Right.
And then it is for the officer's purpose also to state that, yes, I'm the one that took the statement. I recognize my handwriting, I recognize my signature for same.
Right.
If you're needed for evidence in court also.
Right. So with the insertion or with putting in the certifications and the declaration to the statement, what if on the day of court that person who gave the statement is not available to come to court, whether they're sick or for some reason? Can that statement still be used in the court? Anyone could respond.
Well, that would vary.
Mm-hmm.
Normally, I would believe in an instance where the defendant would have pled guilty
Right.
and the facts of the matter have to be read, depending on the offense. If there is no compensation to be taking place or whatever, the prosecutor will go ahead and read on
Right.
that statement
Right.
also.
Right.
However, it is advised to persons out there that you let the court know what is going on with you.
Right. Right.
You have to let us know what is going on because it is your matter. We are acting on behalf of you.
Right.
So it's very important that you let us know. But it can be used still.
Right. So even if I heard that little voice saying, well, officer, if I have to do all of that at the end of my statement, why is it that if I miss a court hearing that my matter is struck out? What advice any of you can give to persons, even if you give a statement, the importance of you, the statement maker or the complainant, being at the court?
That's very important, because you as an individual giving the statement, you need to seek interest in your own matter, right? You need to, because although the statement might be detailed, very detailed, catch all the details of the incident, the magistrate who may have other questions you want to ask, he or she may want to ask you just to clarify certain things, and that's the importance of being there as well. If you're not there, she can't ask, she can't clarify with you, to figure out the full extent of the incident.
Right.
The prosecutor may not be able to help in that aspect because it's something personal that's connected to you. So we encourage persons to turn up to court.
You can't say that better, because hear what? I have experienced it, and that's just the crux of the matter, because oftentimes persons give a statement and in the heat of the moment, remember that is just their account, their side of it, but there is somebody else. And when you give, as discussed last week in case file preparation, and one of the petty investigators was saying, when you give a report or a statement to the police, that is just your side. You gave us names in your statement who you believe saw and have added information. So when we speak to these other parties, obviously there are things to be cleared up.
Yes.
And maybe at the moment the accused person is going to say, well, I have nothing to say. But when you reach in court and the magistrate decides to question, then you realize, so the magistrate now needs to clear up some information, clarify something, and you call on John Public, he's not there. She's not there. And then you say, well, the man give me all these planners and he only make her 3 months, or they only charge him $500, $700. Where were you to express to the court that I spent X amount for medication, I lost X amount of days of the job? You didn't go to court. So as you rightly say, the magistrate did not have that opportunity in seeking clarification, which would help in her or his deliberation or sanctioning what direction the matter takes. So it is important, listeners, that whenever you give a statement and you request court action, that you do find yourself. But there are situations, there are emergencies.
Yes.
And if it were to arise, what should they do? So you have a matter before the court, but you yes, I know I should be in court tomorrow, Thursday, but I am sick or emergency comes up. What should that person do?
It is recommended that you at least try to contact the investigator in your matter or the prosecutor.
Okay.
All right. The investigator will contact the prosecutor and inform them, so they can at least inform the court of your absence and so. All right. So there are two options that you can connect.
Thank you.
Contact.
And listeners, it's simple. Or they themselves can contact the court, because oftentimes the court is open at 8. So they so they can call the court and say, I am Tom Jones. I supposed to have a matter with John Black, and this is my present situation. Can you inform the court of my situation? As a result, I'll be absent.
And the beauty about it is that if you do not have credit, 911 is a free call. 911 have all numbers right through.
Definitely.
So you dial, you don't even need a SIM card. You dial 911, you ask for the number, they put you on, and you relay your information.
So listeners, you have no excuse. No excuse. You have to seek your own interest, even if there is a certification and declaration to the statements. As rightly stated by the officers, the magistrate may just want to clear up something with you. Some doubts that he or she may be having, And in order to make that decision on your matter, they need to hear from you. And when you speak, your language is one, but your body says something, your tone says something. So it helps them to clear up all of the doubt. But in regards to statements and its importance to taking matters to court, what are some of the rules or guidelines that are used in recording of statements?
Right. Some of the rules while obtaining a statement would be if there are any errors, right, the officer will cross off that error and ask the giver of the statement to initial it, right? Where it is relevant, the direct speech will be recorded.
Right.
That would be for certain offenses, right? The harm offenses, mostly, and so, right? And the statement must contain all facts.
Right.
As as we stressed on earlier on, the who, what, where, when, why, and how.
Right.
That's very important to give, right?
Right.
Yes, to mention, right? And it's also important to mention that juveniles, when juveniles give a statement, if the parent, a parent must be present, or a guardian, or another person who's not a police officer, should be
Right.
present, like a social worker would be there, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. You speak of the who, the 5 W's and the age, but in regards to the who, what if the statement giver is saying, "Well, officer, Mary Black was there, but me and she ain't talking, or yes, he had somebody there, but me and that person doesn't go down, so I want to call in him for them to believe I brought the name for the police." What should we say to them in a situation like that, where Mary Black, in your opinion as the person giving the statement, no, Mary Black saw and hear what happened?
As a witness?
Yes.
Well, it's not wrong in trying still,
Right.
You have an issue, explain to them, okay, well, I need your word to come to my assistance in court to assist the police in the investigation, right? Because although you and the person may not be going down, but they still might not like what happened to you,
Right.
Because persons have their still moral values as well. They don't, they cannot stand when they see wrong happen. So
Right.
just still approach the person and explain the incident to them, or ask the police to contact them
Right.
for assistance and so.
Good.
Yes.
And to add, the law says that when an incident occurs, the police have the right to detain or contact any person whom he or she believes useful information can be obtained.
Yes.
So it's not a situation of you
So
bringing.
it's not about a person particularly,
Definitely.
but it's about the offense being committed.
Yes.
Sometimes you go to the witness and me, I ain't taking partnership business. It's not about the person.
Yes.
It's about what happened. Just give us your encounter of it. I'm gonna leave it like that.
Well, I can say from experience, when I meet those persons, as long as I hint from you that you have useful information and you do not want to share it with me, the magistrate has the authority to summons you to court. And I would let you know that. Now, if you give me your information, I can put within my report that while John James witnessed what happened, does not want to participate or take part. While the decision is not mine to call him or her to court, but at least I'll indicate that. But when I meet you and I gather that you have information and you choose to be silent because you think you don't want to snitch and you don't want to whatever, the law says the magistrate has the authority to summons you. So whichever angle you go, listeners, you can get by. You will get by.
And it also deals with the method of approach,
Definitely.
Because people would try to avoid conflict.
Yes.
And if they know that you involved in them in your matter would be in
Yes.
conflict, they will hide away from that. So it's also important to be aware of your approach and
That's
these
right.
things.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, listeners, it is important when we look at the rules as stated by Constable Lalit in terms of recording statement, because you know what? If the statement is not done right or proper, your matter going to court can speak for itself. And there are times the statement may not be right or proper, but because you're at the court, it can also lend or help, because the magistrate are able to question you and to clarify situations. But if you're not there, You're hostile when you come to give the statement. You're non-cooperative, but you want the report goes to court. We already see it's a recipe for disaster. And sometimes persons, I remember just a matter of weeks ago, I was at Grenville Station and a gentleman came to make a report. He wants the police assistance in retrieving his items from Tom Jones. And he does not want to give the police. Man, look, the man there, everybody know him, come and get me stuff. The officer say, sir, I need to cover myself in the event that it escalates. I don't know you. I don't even have your name. What if I respond and your information is not truthful? What happens to me if the situation escalates? And listeners, these are things that you need to know and understand, because oftentimes what seems to be trivial for you may just trigger off someone because an officer comes to them. They see it in some instances, especially when they're wrong, as a disrespect. You call the police on me, man, and they choose to hide. Or based on the environment, the crowd that they're in, and the police has to come in and speak to them. So hence, when you come to the station, and as clearly stated by the officers, when you ask or ought to give a statement, how you need to cooperate, you need to be mindful as to the rules governing. And as usual, your 1 hour has climaxed. Yes, Miss Philip, 1 hour, yes. But I do believe that you all has done justice and were able to bring across the main points. So in closing, I'll do what I've never done on a program before. Normally, I'll ask person to leave their closing remarks, but I'll put you on the spot and I'll ask of you to just remind our listeners what is a statement. One person would do that, and then another person would just sum it in a few seconds to say how important it is to your statement going to the court and why you need to cooperate. So that's different. So at the end of the day, you summarize your program.
Okay.
So what's the statement? Just in your own words, that the layman on the street understand. Real FM reaches wide and far to the lowest. So I want the fisherman, I want the road environmental officers, the road workers to understand what is a statement so they know what they're supposed to do. So in layman terms, what's a statement?
So your statement is basically a written record of an incident that occurred, right?
Right.
Your first-hand knowledge, your first-hand view, your experience, that's what the statement records.
Right. Yes.
Easy.
Simple.
Don't overthink it.
No math is what you have to say that the officer will put in writing as to what happened.
Yes.
Simple as that. And then how important is that for the statement? To the point.
To the point. A statement is an important factor in the administration of justice. It is the initial stage of an investigation, and it requires consistency in its application of rules and procedures. Very important.
Very important.
Right. Therefore, it becomes an honorable document.
Wow.
And it assists the court in deciding on the guilt or otherwise of the accused in the matter and to discover the truth.
Wow. So listeners, the importance of your statement is to discover the truth.
That's right.
And in discovering the truth, it will aid into the decision made by the magistrate in terms of what should happen next. So I say thank you. And it has come to an end. This has been another program, The Conversation with the RGPF. And I want to urge you listeners, next week Wednesday we'll be back with another program of such a nature. What's the topic? I'm not sure what the topic would be next week, but I know we would have another program, and I know it would be interested. So, of course, as I leave you, you see something, hear something, know something. What do? Say something. Who do you say to? The police, relevant authorities, so that we can able to do something about the something that you say. We can solve the puzzle. It might just be the last piece of the puzzle to make a difference in our society. God bless you. Have a wonderful week. And to your wonderful guests, I say thank you for being in studio with me, and you will be back again. Have a wonderful day.
Have a great day
and
as well.
Thank you. And to your listeners, have a wonderful week ahead. God bless you. Be safe. And until we meet again, peace for now.
Transition.
Inspector Griffith, however, acknowledges it could take some time before the entire fleet has been replaced.
But we have a fleet of estimated just over 300 vehicles. And therefore, the process, as you will recognize, is going to be a slow process, but it will be consistent on as we, as government, finances will go, because government would have to change not only the police forces vehicle, but other vehicles in other departments. So it's going to be a transition process.
The vehicles were delivered by Courtesy Garage Limited. Sales executive Sean Prescott says the cars, which can travel up to 260 kilometers when fully charged, are well suited for police use.
They're very low maintenance because electric vehicles have less moving parts, and they don't carry gearboxes or anything like that, and they're very responsive. So in terms of pursuing someone, they get off the line quickly because electric vehicles carry direct torque to the wheels.